Let me give you an example. This example is the Iraq War. This is a very good example. If you ask most Americans, what's the most evil thing you can think of? One of the things they might cite as an example is 9/11. And they might say, well, 9/11 is one of the most evil acts perpetrated upon the American public in the last 50 years, let's say, since the Nazis, perhaps, since the concentration camps. Okay. And how many people died in September 11th? 2,500 people, roughly speaking. Okay. After 9/11, George W. Bush holds a famous news conference where he talks about the axis of evil. In the axis of evil, who does he call out? Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. Then, shortly after, we invade Iraq under the pretense of weapons of mass destruction. And although there's no connection whatsoever between Iraq and 9/11, still, the public is in this sort of combative mood, and we want to be tough on terrorists and dictators and evildoers. Evildoers, that's a very popular quote for George W. Evildoers. And how does he frame this war? He frames the war as us fighting evil. So we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. We are making the world safer. We're fighting for freedom. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for enlightenment. We're fighting for American values, all that's good in the world. And I say this as an American. I'm an American citizen. So it's very interesting, right? Then we go to war with Iraq, and what happens? A lot of people die. How many? Let's pull it up. Here's my phone. I'm going to go to Google and type in casualties of the Iraq War. And I'm going to click on the first thing that comes up, which is a Wikipedia page, casualties of the Iraq War. And I'll quote you a little bit of it. Here's what it says. Various scientific surveys of Iraqi deaths resulting from the first 4 years of the Iraq War are estimated up to 1 million Iraqis died as a result of the conflict during this time. Another study published in 2011 estimated that it's approximately 500,000 Iraqis. Another newspaper who has been calculating these tallies, called the Iraqi Body Count Project, found that 174,000 Iraqis were killed. And of those, approximately 120,000 were civilian non-combatants. So Americans were pissed off when we lost 2,500 people. And yet then we invade a country who had nothing to do with that, and we kill at least 120,000 civilian non-combatants. And how do we justify it? Well, we ignore it. This figure is virtually never cited in the news or in mainstream culture. Never brought up. In fact, the Defense Department doesn't even bother keeping accurate count of the casualties. That's not something they're interested in, you see. We keep very accurate count of our own casualties. And granted, it's easier to keep count of your own casualties than those of the opposite side, but still, there's a sort of willful ignorance there for good reason. Because if you were fully conscious of what you were doing when you were waging this war from the highest level, then you could not wage this war. See, because this is just the committing of evil. That's what it is.